much. First of all, pretty inspired by that steeplechase. That was a huge PR, 2.5 seconds per lap. You saw it. He never quit. He never quit. That's a hard thing to do. And so for all of you guys here, you want to emulate that. You want to be able to build a base in your running that continues over year after year after year, because a lot of you are like still maybe in 5th or 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade for sure, maybe one 9th grader here. So your whole career in this cool sport of running, you got a lot to look forward to.
A lot.
It's going to be crazy. Now, not everybody here is going to be an NCAA champion. Maybe not everybody here will be a college runner. But you never know. You never know if you're the next Joey Waska, a kid who was at this camp, front cover of Youth Runner. I tried to recruit the dude. Came out of Mount Si, over by North Bend, Washington, over the Cascades up near Snoqualmie Pass, if you know that area. And he would win the NCAA last year. His story's crazy. He was a steepler, and he was having a bad year. And so his coach, a guy named Andy Powell, former Oregon coach, put him in the 1500, just see if we can salvage something. And 1 month later, he wins the NCAA champion. It changes his life. He took a risk. And it's so like, how did that happen? And I think he's got a qualifying mark or whatever, but he's going to be running in Belgrade at the World Championships here in a few days. The kid from North Bend, Washington, the kid that was at this camp. Pretty cool story. He was a really good youth runner, by the way. So even if you're a really good youth runner, don't think that if somebody tells you you're starting your running too early. I think Melody Fairchild said it very well. She said, if you love what you're doing, follow your heart. So follow your heart. Runners are cool. I can't think of better people than runners. And I can't even believe I've been coaching as long as I have. It was not that long ago I coached 12 and 13 and 14-year-old kids. I'll never forget that first year, 50 years ago. I'm going to start number 51 now. I got my little group, boys and girls. It's the first time girls could run cross country. Title IX came in. It was really awesome. I had like 12 young ladies, and I had like 20 young men, and they were 7th and 8th and 9th graders. And it was just like this. Everybody together like this. And we created this little middle school dynasty. Within 3 years, we had 25 break 5 minutes in the mile. 7th and 8th graders. 3 girls under 5 minutes. That's pretty cool for a middle school. And that high school should have loved the feeder program I was giving them. But how did we do it? We created this, we had 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, where we ran after school, and we had cool places to run. And I took what I learned at Oregon, I took it to the middle school. And there was those 5 principles that I learned from my coaches. I'm the only last coach probably alive that I was coached by Bill Bowerman. Bowerman shirt. Bowerman. Cool dude. Really rough guy. Called me Tim. My name's Pat. Called me Tim because I wasn't good enough. I was a walk-on. Bill liked to coach people who like filet mignon steaks.
Yes, sir.
And he called me chopped liver. Hamburger would be the better phrase he would use, which meant I wasn't very good. So I had to work really hard to prove him differently. That was my challenge when I went to Oregon. But Bowerman and his pupil, Bill Dellinger, who would become the next coach at Oregon, who coached a guy named Steve Prefontaine, and me and many others. If you've ever heard of Rudy Chapa, maybe not Alberto Salazar and all these other characters. But he also coached some great females. One of the greatest females in American history, Mary Slaney. You've probably never heard of her. She ran 4:15. She ran 1:58 in the 8th grade for 800. Pretty good for an 8th grader. She was amazing, to say the least. So what about these principles that I've shared at camp before? Moderation in your training. Train, don't strain. I shared that with my little junior high kids. And we ran probably 20 to 30 miles a week in that 5 days. Some of them ran on the weekends. Some maybe would run less, but that was kind of what we did. We had a cool park up in North King County called Hamlin. Had cool trails. We did hills. We did fartleks. We'd always finish our workouts with gut busters and push-ups. And every Friday there was an old TV show called Superstars. And we had Superstar fun games every Friday. So we could break things up a little bit. But moderation. Train, don't strain. Would be a really big principle if you're writing notes down. Moderation. Train, don't strain. In other words, yeah, you can strain, but you want to stay healthy. And you guys, my middle school kids, they were healthy. There was a few shin splints, hip things. A lot of that had to do with, I think, growth. Some of you will probably have that. Growing pains, we call it. So moderation. The second thing that Bowerman taught us was progression. And I heard that from Melody Fairchild today, about you want to progress as a runner. For those of you that really want to be good at this, you don't know where we're going to go, but some of you in here may end up getting some nice scholarships to help pay for college. Or you'll be like me, you walk on and keep your fingers crossed, and then get money. Kind of sweet too. So progression is, okay, so maybe you're running 20 miles a week as a 7th grade, 8th grader, 9th grader, whatever, and then maybe it goes up to 30 and the next year, and maybe it goes up to 40, and then maybe in high school you might top out at 40 to 60 miles a week, maybe 70. Some high school kids actually run 80 or 90, but sometimes the lower you can do and be very, very good is better than to be too high and when you go to college, that maybe there's less room to improve. Might be a good way to say it. Maybe less room to improve. Not absolute. So that's progression in your mileage. Hopefully you can get some PRs along the way. What's cool is I got a PR. I started running when I was in 9th grade. And I got a PR in my 9th grade, my sophomore year in high school, my junior year in high school, my senior year in high school, my first year in college, my second year in college, my third year in college, my fourth year in college, my fifth because I redshirted, and my first year running we didn't have pros, but my club, out of high school, out of college, I mean. And the next year so the first 15 years of my running career, I got PRs. PRs fuel you. PRs, well, makes you want to run, makes you want to get up in the next morning and go run. You know? So that's all part of progression. And remember that as your second principle of what Bill Bowerman taught us, and that I used that with my middle school, and I still use it today. Third thing is variation. Variation, variety, the spice of life. You know, every day should not be the same thing. I love spaghetti. Anybody else like spaghetti? Yeah. I know not everybody here's a meat lover, but New York steak, filet mignon, a big baked potato with all the works, and maybe a little Caesar salad. Anybody like that kind of stuff? A few of us. But if you had that every day, no offense, it might get a little boring. And too much ice cream, you know how we love ice cream, but too much. So you want to have a lot of variety. So a tempo should be a part of your repertoire. Easy run should be part of your repertoire. And that easy means conversational pace. You go too fast if you can't talk. Okay? And you want to add in a fartlek, a Swedish word for speed play. A lot of you know what fartlek means. So that's where you go out in a forest or someplace and you like sprint for a while, jog a little bit, stride a little bit, jog a little bit, go find a hill and run it hard, jog a little bit for, let's say, 30 minutes. Maybe in middle school, maybe it's 20 minutes. But you want to add a fartlek into your mix for variety. And then maybe one little longer run, even in middle school. Our long run for our middle schoolers might have been 6 months. Okay? don't worry, there were some that they couldn't do that, but a lot could. Don't underestimate yourself. And I never felt I burned younger kids out. But you got to have, and variety was part of that. Mixing it up, so it's not the same old thing. And there's going to be that 1 or 2 hard workouts during the week that you go, whoa, wow, that was hard. But that makes you tougher. It gives you the grit. It gives you the guts. So that is the third principle. The fourth one is adaptation, or adaptability, or adapt. Dellinger Environment would say adaptability. You got to adapt. I live in Spokane, and sometimes we got to get on the treadmill. In Anchorage, sometimes you got to get on the treadmill. If you have fire, you're on the East Coast, and you're in Boston this summer or New York, and fire from Canada came down, the air quality just was beyond stupid, the worst in the world, you might have to go on a treadmill. Hate's a bad word, I dislike treadmills, but sometimes you have to make it your friend. You get on it, put some music in or whatever, and go to La La Land, you know. And if nothing else, you got a little variety, and you can't wait to get back to the outdoors. So you have to adapt maybe to the weather. Some of you run the National JO Cross Country Championships, right? A lot of hands. What if it's 10 degrees out? You're back in Wisconsin. Some of you run Wisconsin. Yeah, a few hands up. Some of you, how many of you ran in Tallahassee? You have a couple hands up. Okay, and there's so many different places. Try to figure out what the weather will be, and you want to prepare yourself for that condition. Adapt to the conditions. If you are from an area where there's no hills, I know I was down in Jacksonville, Florida, and they have no hills. So guess where they run parking garages or bridges over the river down in Jacksonville, Florida, to create some kind of hill. Okay. Bill Dellinger, who coached Steve Prefontaine and me, he said one of the things he had to do when he was stationed on the Washington coast during the Air Force, he didn't have a track. How many of you don't have a track? Okay. And if you don't have a track, you have to create your own track. You get a wheel, you wheel a park, or like he did, he would go to a track, figure out how many strides it was to run 65 seconds or 60 seconds, and then when he went to the beach to run, he knew how many strides, he'd count those strides off to make a 400-meter straightaway on the beach. So that's one of the things he had to do to adapt, because he didn't have a track. So, something to think about. The fifth thing is callousing. Callus. We all know what callus is on your feet. You get blisters, you callus your feet. Callousing is getting your body calloused, even though you don't have blisters all over your body, but for the race situation. I saw a steeplechase where there was a huge surge. I bet he practiced that. He visualized it, practiced that big surge in workouts, so he was prepared for it. It's called callousing his body for it. If you're some races you have to learn how to get out hard. So you'll be able to do some workouts where you callous your body to go out hard at the first 100 meters of your race and then settle down. If that makes sense. So you got moderation, you got progression, you got a lot of variation, you got some adapting going on, and then you're going to callous yourself. So those are the 5 principles. So ultimately, one of the guys that was a master of this program, and I got the luck of the draw to room with him, and that was Steve Prefontaine. Now, a lot of you have never heard of him, but how many of you have? Okay, a lot of you have. Steve is still pretty idolized in the state of Oregon. And there is only one huge Diamond League meet in America, and it's called the Pre-Classic. And it's going to be in September. And I have a big meet, but I'm going to fly down the day of the meet and watch it and then get back. Because it's the last of the Diamond League meets. Maybe a couple of Norwegians might show up. I don't know any good 1,500-meter runners from Norway, but maybe one will show up. You guys know one?
Jakob Ingebrigtsen.
Oh, Jakob
really?
Ingebrigtsen, he has a 3:27 flat.
You're kidding me. Woo! I know he is. Evan Hurdler is pretty good there too, don't they? Oh, they do. It's pretty. Some of you know what I mean by 400-meter hurdler.
He's like the best in the world.
Anyway, I had a kid, a middle school kid from Atlanta, send me an email, and he said, "Can you tell me what Prefontaine was like? I've got some questions for you." So here are the questions he asked. He was a 13-year-old. What was it like to run side by side with Steve Prefontaine? And I said, Pre was all business during workouts. He made the tempo sweet, if you know what I mean by a sweet tempo, where it's pretty hard, but it makes you feel good. And in the morning, we went right out the door with no warm-up at 6 flat or better for 5 to 6 mile runs every morning. That was our morning shakeout at about 5:50 to 6 minute pace. When I reflect back, I think it was cool to shadow the best runner in America. I know much of it made me a better runner. So I guess the message there is, if you want to write something in your notes, don't be afraid to shadow people who are better than you. Don't be afraid to shadow people that are better than you. I went to Oregon. I was hamburger, and I got myself up probably to a New York steak. I got pretty good. And a filet a little bit, maybe a baby little 2-ounce filet, which was 1 bite. Next question. How would you describe Pre as an athlete and a friend? And I said as an athlete, Pre was almost second to none. He was a driver. You all know what a driver is? Front runner. How many of you here, I should say, love to be front runners? Like to go out from the gun and see what happens. Okay, that was Pre. How many of you are like, how do you say it? Sit and kick? Anybody like this? Who's the sit and kickers? You trust your kick? Cool. But there might be a time when you want to explore being a front runner. You know, and see if you can be like Prefontaine. Not everybody can do it, but it's pretty exciting when you can be a front runner. I saw a little sit and kick today in that steeplechase. Love that Notre Dame guy getting eaten alive. Excuse me. Should never say anything negative about Notre Dame, but I loved it. And look at the lead that he had with 300 meters to go. He's going to easily get second, not. But what a brave, bold kick by the sitting kicker in there. As an athlete, he was second to none. He was a driver. He made the races exciting to watch because there was no rabbiting. He was the rabbit, and he would win. He was the rabbit and dared people to go with him. He was a great role model and taught me how to chill. Anybody here get too nervous before races? Yeah. How many of you it's hard to sleep the night before a race? Yeah. How many of you it's hard to get to sleep the night before a test? I see a little less hands, but a few hands up. Guess what? If you prepared to race like you prepare for maybe a test, you should be able to sleep better the night before a race. Seriously. And just go to bed. Pre would always look at me and say, "You're stupid." He says, "Why? What are you worried about? You're not low on fuel trying to land a plane in the fog, or aircraft carrier, and you could die." He said, "It is running. If you've done the work, go to the line and just do your best. And don't freak out." And how do you go to bed and relax? It takes about 21 days, they say, to change a habit. Learn how to just not think before you go to bed. If you do rehearsals of your racing up before you bed, you might get your adrenaline up and you still can't sleep, tossing and turning. So try to learn how to just go to bed. I learned that from Pre. It took me way too long because it was college when I learned it, but it's a little habit you can create, and so process that one. So he taught me how to chill and have more confidence. Pre had an amazing self-confidence and was a great team leader in that he really connected well with those who gave 100%. He did not like slackers. He'd get up. We lived in a trailer. Have you ever seen the movie Prefontaine or Without Limits? If you have a chance to see it, or the best one is a documentary called Fire on the Track. Anybody seen Fire on the Track? Ooh, you might want to get it online and put it in your arsenal of inspirational videos. But basically, we lived in this trailer, and the first thing he'd do up in the morning is make his bed. How many of you make your bed right off? Ooh, a few of us are like, Anybody here a clean freak? Raise your hand.
Oh yeah.
Whoa,
Oh yeah.
Prefontaine was a clean freak.
Crazy about that.
How many are
My
like
room has
messy?
to be
It
clean,
looks
or
like
else I can't go
tornado
to bed. I
took
have to
over
clean it before I
room.
go to bed. Like if my
Whoa! Look
Wait,
at
what
that,
did he
for
say?
two of you. Better not be Prefontaine's room,
Are you
man.
like a messy room? Like completely messy room?
No, clean room, has to be
I
clean.
can't. It has to be clean.
Mine is
My
like
brother,
messy.
you don't feel the same.
He
My
was a
sister's like the
friend.
messiest room.
I was his
Messy,
sidekick.
but all the messy.
He